Welcome back to Total War Rome Remastered as Parthia, where last time we had a few issues with the Scythians, but after a lot of death among our peasantry, we got away without losing territory to them. We also stole a bunch of Seleucid territory with some nice sniping horse archer attacks that struggled mainly with the pathfinding rather than the enemy. Now though, the Scythians are coming at us again, this time with a more substantial force, and we need to do this difficult looking defense of Kotes. However, they only have 2 units that can push the rams, and they're both archers. So that means if we can run out here and just defeat them, we'll win by default. The biggest thing holding us back here is the fact I need to go out here with Eastern Spears, and as mentioned previously, Eastern Spears really suck. My main worry was that the horse archers could come over and kill me. At first though, they're not paying any attention, so we stopped the first ram. Now I need to do some micro and spam orders to get the second unit out of that melee to stop the second ram. This works eventually, but it really did take a long time. I think it's because they're trying to pathfind towards the ram itself, and that was causing some confusion, so they didn't really engage very well. There we go, we finally defeated the first archer unit after losing about half of our spearmen. They have now brought over a few of their horse archers though, so things will get bad. There goes the second archer unit. We've done the first phase of our plan. The second phase is kill them when they come back, essentially, or hope they don't come back. We can also melee attack the rams to destroy them. That would allow us to win, but it takes a really long time. I don't even know how intentional that feature is. You can destroy rams with melee attacks, but it takes forever, way longer than we'll have with horse archers marauding about here. I tried to use my horse archers to finish off some of the routers, but didn't quite get there. And now my spearmen are just getting annihilated. I decided to pull them back inside the walls. The archers then come back towards the rams. I've had to abandon the wall area because the enemy horse archers were just annihilating me. They're now a bit too close. We theoretically could rout those enemy archers with our archers, but as mentioned before, in this game it's very hard to rout something with ranged attacks because of how morale works. So they'll probably fight to the death as long as we don't get too close to them. Well, technically, we are in melee with them. As you can see, there's one guy who got stuck outside the gates by the looks of things, who is now doing a great job of hacking down the ram crew. Well, actually, he's doing a terrible job, come to think of it. Eastern Spears have the joint lowest attack in the game, so they can't kill a topless guy from behind, even when he's basically unarmed. Well, they're just not very good, it seems, so we're not going to be able to stop the ram with that hero outside. I did want to open the gates and send more guys out, but I completely forgot. You can't open the gates when there's a ram in front of it in this game and Medieval 2. So you actually can't stop the ram once it starts attacking your gate. We're too late. Our only hope is actually the guy outside. He did kill a couple more of the enemies, but overall he didn't perform too well. So the gate is finally opened by the ram, and now we're in enormous trouble because all of the horse archers will be activated. This does, though, present us with an opportunity because of the weird pathfinding. They're all going to run in single file into my spearmen who have that bonus against calves, so we'll kill some of them. Unfortunately, our stats are just too low to resist this long queue, but check it out, they're really orderly. I was surprised that the different units queued behind each other. You might expect them to all queue up on top of each other or something instead, but they have formed a massive queue one behind the other. Looks pretty good actually, even though it's weird. In they go, Kotes falls, inconvenient. We did have a small relief army on the way. That is not going to be enough to retake it, so they'll have to just go back and brood for a bit. We'll gradually be able to build up this army into something big enough to recontest the town. Theoretically, the enemy could do the same, but they might not, so that's how we're going to deal with that. Now back down to the Seleucid front, where last time I prepared an army on our border there to go out and do something. The easiest move is to go for Antioch. It's poorly defended, but I was concerned that I had recently seen a big army around the place somewhere. Well, I can't see it anymore. There's their faction leader on his own, just chilling out with the Pontus War probably going on in the fog of war over there. We're going to go for Antioch. I actually can't do it for a couple of reasons. Not only do I have one too few movement points, I can't reach the town, but this diplomat's in the way. It's doing the old UI trickery where it kind of looks like you can reach the town with that red square there, but all we can do is sit next to it and wait. We can't start the siege. So we'll just sit there for a turn. one thing we can do is finish off that battle in the desert that I spent a very long time setting up, this tiny siege. I didn't want to actually do it, so I threw away a whole bunch of troops to save some real life time. Inconvenient, and there we go. That was the kind of fight that we could have won for 0 casualties if it all went well, but apparently I had no patience left for that battle, having done it a few times already in this campaign. So we're going to lower the tax, not really leave much behind, and immediately race home, because I had my suspicions about Egypt, you may recall, but we'll get to that later. First, Scythia are also attacking us up in the top right, so another settlement defense, but this time they have less stuff, we have more stuff, and I know not to use the peasants outside of the town square, so they'll just be our last defense sacrificial units. The horse archers can have a go at shooting towards the ram pushers. This won't do nearly enough to stop them, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. Well, maybe not. Maybe we could be doing something more useful by bringing the horse archers outside, like I've done with our other cav who are sneaking around the edge of town. What I don't want to do is engage the enemy's cav. I want to just fight the infantry if possible. So I cheekily charge in with my mercenary cav here, and then start running away to see what will happen. Unfortunately, the other ram is going to go unmolested. I ended up not bringing in my general from the other side to deal with them, so we'll let them open the gate. They have though now dropped the second ram, so we're avoiding any damage to the wall, and this unit then chases my mercenaries around the corner, where I've now set up all of my horse archers ready to shoot into their flank and rear. Plenty of free kills, and we can just run away from the axes as long as we need to finish this unit off. The ideal situation. The enemy cav, meanwhile, are going through the open gate and are attacking the town centre. Now it's our peasants' time to shine, / time to die, as they sacrifice themselves to try and bring down some of those horse archers. Now our generals will fight their general. They've got melee cav and we've got jav cav. So we want to run away, and that just about happens automatically with skirmish mode. Good job. And we're even doing the old throw javelins backwards annoying trick, so we'll keep our distance and inflict a bit of damage. That general's bodyguard probably has a load of hit points, so we're not killing him too fast. We can try and get the horse archers to catch up to the fight and add some damage to it, and they just about do. But in the end, it's just turning around and melee attacking this guy that finishes him off. We kill the general himself and half of the unit routes. That's going to be the turning point of this battle, because now without that general, their cav, which was busily killing my peasants, will rout. Looks like my mercenary cav got involved at this point as well. With them routing, it's time to grab some kills. In particular, we can have our generals block the gate. Now they can't get away. It's going to be an absolute slaughter. I quite like the slaughterers animations in this game. When a unit's routing, they die real fast, which is refreshing from the later games where routing units are a real pain to take care of. Here they just die if they get stuck in trouble there. Looks like their general came back from routing, or the general's bodyguards, so we turn to fight them as well, and soon we'll finish them off with just sheer numbers. Here the animations aren't so good because the regular combat animations are very slow and janky looking, just because they're low frame rate basically. All stuff that you might hope had been improved, but I suppose in real gameplay you barely ever see it. We got an achievement for winning a night battle. Apparently that was a night battle. It was a very bright one, but that's all good. And that's the end of that. Another successful defense of the corner. Now we're skipping 2 turns ahead actually, as my men get back from the desert with the Egyptians still awkwardly standing around, looking like they're probably going to attack Seleucia, getting closer and closer, still not actually doing it. But at least now we've assembled our main force under our faction leader. We've got nearly a full stack of troops. It's finally time to move out and start doing some stuff. However, the Seleucid main army appears as well. That was the army I was looking for the whole time. They've somehow appeared at Hatra. I guess they snuck through the mountains, controlled by Pontus, and popped out in our territory. Inconvenient for us, because there's really not much we can do about that. Hatra's garrison won't be able to stop that full stack, and our nearest troops are currently besieging Antioch. We've actually made a ram now, so we might as well go in and do the siege, and then worry about the other army. It looks like it's a balanced engagement, but of course, it's attacking a walled settlement where they have pikes. We're going to be sitting outside the walls and raining arrows in to grab some free kills. Therefore I was pretty confident we could do this with very minimal losses. Here's a little look. They've got all of these pikes that look like they're more armoured than militia hoplites, so they might not die quite as easily to arrow attacks, but it's going to be good enough. Doing some micro there to actually get our men away from the wall so they'll arc their shots over it a bit more efficiently. Now that those enemies have run past us, we'll get rear attacks as well, which is good. Some other guys are coming over to get hit by my jabs with my generals. Even got the slingers in on the action, shooting through this open gate as the pikes walk back down the road. They essentially walked all the way in front of my horse archers, turned around and walked all the way back. Well, that didn't go very well for them. However, I then sent the horse archers in through the gate, and things immediately started going poorly for us. The main reason is because they had a general sitting in the middle of the town, and he woke up and came out to attack my horse archers, and really we can't counter this. We need to get out of the way, and that's of course much easier said than done. My horse archers are routing, we've already lost a full unit. Pretty nasty. I needed to have some spears with them to support, but the spears are elsewhere at the moment. We're getting caught up on this pike phalanx here, caught up on the enemy's general as well. Essentially it's very hard for us to leave. The gate is a nice choke point, and then there's pathfinding to deal with on top of that. So we lose loads of stuff there. Looks like one of my units that routed has ended up in the corner of the victory area. They now get stuck. I can't order them to get out of there because they want to waypoint through the enemy infantry, and they die even harder. Pretty nasty. So my plan of coming in here and just grabbing a free win with exploits is out the window. They did the counter to this exploit, which is to just attack the horse archers. At least now we're outside, they'll forget about that. The rest of our horse archers are safe, and our Jav-Cav are steadily working their way through that pike phalanx. Things are stabilising. We've got more horse archers too who are setting up to shoot at the enemy's pikes in the victory square. As for the enemy general, I eventually charged him with my general's bodyguards, and that proved to be enough to bring him down. He routs just outside of the square and then dies as well. That's something. Now we just need to take down the pikes defending the middle. I can do this very easily in theory by just standing around, shooting them, running around the outside of the square and trying not to engage very hard. This didn't work whatsoever because the horse archer units I gave the order to attack to, in some cases decided to physically move to the center of the square first. You can see general chaos happening here, and I'm trying to rein it in. What's happening is, the way movement works, I believe anyway, is that when you give a move order in a settlement, the unit will first move to a waypoint, like a preset waypoint that's nearby, and then start moving towards the destination. And if that waypoint is, say, the middle of the victory point, any order given near the victory point gets interpreted as move to the center of the point and then move somewhere else. So you have all sorts of shenanigans with units just constantly and seemingly without reason running towards the center and engaging in melee. This ends up being quite bad because we're forced to do a fight to the death against units that have better melee stats than ours. So by the end we win because we have so much stuff, but we lost like a quarter of our army. I was going really for no losses, especially because the enemy main force has made itself known, and this army might have to do something about that very soon. Here was a perfect chance to hit enslave, and I very nearly did it. I kept mousing over it, then at the last second went for occupy. If I'd hit enslave, we would have moved the population into the rest of our territory, which would have been real good since we're very unlikely to hold Antioch, it became immediately clear. Even on low tax, they're extremely outraged with our presence here. And of course we need to leave, so our presence here isn't even going to last that long. I did discover though that they have a better military building than anything we have so far here, and there's a better version of horse archers available, the Persian Cav, who are better at just about everything, although they have fewer arrows for some reason, inconvenient. So we'll want to one day replace our horse archers with the Persian Cav. In particular, they have longer range, which is always nice. Now what I tried to do is get out of the war by giving Antioch back to the Seleucids. I thought if I give them this region in the peace deal, they might actually accept it. Well, they were still not even slightly interested in such a deal, so that really sucks. I don't remember, but I feel like in the original you weren't allowed to make 2 diplomatic attempts per turn. Maybe that's just medieval too. But here I am negotiating with Egypt in the same turn. I want them to be nice to me, I want to ally with them if I can, to stop them from being so aggressive towards me. They're not interested, and you can probably guess why that is. So here we are in the next turn. Interestingly, the Seleucid army didn't go for Hatra. It appears to be coming back here towards Antioch. And Antioch is in a state of rebellion, so it's going to rise up during the end turn sequence. We can't really do much about that at this stage. There's too much for this army to do and it's just not big enough. So what we're going to do is get out of here essentially. I realised there was a way for us to capitalise on this whole situation. While we didn't enslave the populace here, we can make money off the town by blowing it up. We're essentially going to scorched earth the place because every building we delete gets us some cash and we'll just invest that in our other towns by making new buildings elsewhere. Very handy. We're leaving behind one unit to defend the city. This means if an enemy attacks it, they have to sit there besieging it just to be annoying. Everything else is going to leave. As for where we're going to go, we could go and stand on that bridge and try to stop the Seleucids, but given their numbers, I didn't really feel like going for that. However, the whole Seleucid Switcheroo thing gave me an idea. I'm going to do the Switcheroo as well. We can follow the path that the enemy army must have taken by going up through the mountains and popping back down to Hatra, doing a complete circuit. Wanted to pop a tower on the way, but I think there's someone standing there or something. Sometimes you're not allowed to build things for mysterious reasons. But yes, if we can do a cycle around, and the Seleucid army ultimately goes back to its territory in the west as well, essentially nothing will have happened and disaster will be avoided. Both sides just circled around a bit, and we both ended up with roughly the same territory we had a while ago. So that's an okay result if we can get that. Up at Kotes, the enemy are temptingly standing outside of their settlement. It would be really good to attack them and get the siege draw out, but I wasn't confident enough to do it. We just have a few horse archers and so do they. Figured that in a horse archer ranged battle, we're not really going to have an advantage. It depends how the battle goes. I ended up waiting for more numbers. Now with our main force, I thought let's finally just start moving west. Going to start partially ignoring the Egyptians since they're delaying their attack so long. But on the way, well, there's another Egyptian army standing there, so this is further evidence that something's going to go down in Seleucia's region, and maybe we don't want to leave, actually. Well, we'll see about that. Back up in the corner, a few Scythians are standing outside of our camp. I decided we might as well attack them before they get reinforced or start a siege. So out we go. I'm going to do this manually just to make sure it goes very well, because this is a battle where we realistically have an absolute advantage. All we need to do is take down the horse archers with our horse archers, and then as for the axemen, we can just run away as much as we want and don't really have to engage them, so they barely count. Here we are then throwing jabs at the axes and raining arrows on the horse archers, using that Cantabrian circle to make it unlikely that they'll be able to land much damage back on us. Here we just straight up melee charge these axemen and take them out of the fight right away. That went pretty well. Now we wait for results, essentially. I'm sure the Cantabrian circle does reduce your accuracy to some extent because it takes us a long time to bring them down, shooting at the enemy like this, but we do bring them down. We also take out the final axe unit with this glorious charge. They get hit by a volley of arrows and then a downhill cav charge. Very nasty for them. There was even a rear attack coming in, not timed to perfection, but also not required. And there's a bunch of friendly fire as the archers just keep on shooting at the one guy inside our cloud of cav. Inconvenient. But yes, we win the battle. We lost like 20 guys, nothing too bad, and that's that. Now immediately afterwards, I'm starting to think about actually leaving here. We've got some intel, we can see where we need to go. To the southwest, a few turns away, is a Scythian camp. If we could take that location, it would effectively become a new choke point, so it would be very safe for us to advance the front line there. However, public order up here is still very bad. I considered leaving behind one of the officers, but this officer really sucks and he has almost no impact on public order. Ultimately, I decided not to advance. I tried to leave like one more unit behind to see if that would be enough, but I don't think it was. But the idea is there. I do want to push out of this camp and stop ignoring the corner so much, and we'll come back to that in the next part, where we'll also, by the looks of things, have some drama with Egypt. They start the war. Curiously, they just attacked Antioch with an army. What they didn't do is use either of their two armies near Seleucia. They didn't attack my army in the field or go for the settlement. So this move seems almost opportune. They're going to take Antioch instead of the Seleucids taking it back. their army is perhaps just chasing me, so I'm going to run away from them. On the way, we actually encounter that lone enemy faction leader. He's still wandering around on his own, not sure what his plan is. He was trying to switcheroo back down to the south. We're going to go after him and start this battle. The kind of battle we need to manually resolve because it's probably going to be way better than an auto-resolve. We actually had some trouble because their general's bodyguards were intent on charging down my general's bodyguards. And I was intent on not being in melee with them, of course, because we want to just sit around and rain arrows. We eventually achieve something like this by having our guys run in a big circle around a blob of our horse archers, and our Javcav are throwing javs back as well. The circle goes all the way around to the hill below where the horse archers are, and after a big lap of this area, we've whittled the general's bodyguards down. Again, they probably have some hit points, so it takes a while to kill them, but towards the end they'll start dying pretty fast. Once they're nearly dead, I sent my general's bodyguards into melee to finish them off, and that was the end of that. We win the battle with minimal casualties, the enemy faction leader is dead. That's a propaganda victory for us, and we've punished the enemy for randomly walking their faction leader around the campaign map. All very good. We might be able to do something where we kill their entire family to technically win the war. That's the old trick I always forget. At least you can do that in Medieval too. But we've got bigger fish to fry. We've got Egypt right here. They've lost their initiative, so we can do something against them. But we've certainly got some work ahead of us. We've got to deal with 2 armies standing in our territory, and Egypt have quite a lot more than this. They are a superpower, they're one of the big factions that's really rich and stuff, so being at war with them is going to be very inconvenient. Defeating them will most likely allow us to win the campaign. We'll probably reach our victory conditions if we actually win. So that's effectively what this campaign will be from now on. The Seleucids need to be finished off to technically meet our conditions, but conquering Egypt will be the big deal. And of course we're also at war with Scythia at the same time, and we'll try to just micromanage this. We are fighting on like all possible fronts in all directions. Actually no, we're not fighting Pontus yet.